Aloha and welcome to Saurian. This is a game where you play as a dinosaur. If that wasn't obvious... why can't I be a Tyranno? Oh, I want to be a feathery Tyranno. Yes.
Dinosaur survival games are pretty hit or miss. Okay, they're pretty much always a miss. But this is mostly due to a lack of funding or a fundamentally flawed game design. Hell, most of these games are doomed from the get-go, and yet somehow people still donate to these pieces of garbage and wonder why they crash and burn immediately. But I digress. Saurian was not at all one of those games. Hell, I might be so bold as to say Saurian had the highest potential of them all. I'm saying it could have eclipsed The Isle, Beast of Bermuda, okay, maybe not Path of Titans, but when you release your shit on mobile, it's absolutely wraps for everyone else no matter what you do. My point is, Saurian was not your average fever dream of a dinosaur game. It was the real deal. An immensely realistic, cutting-edge single-player dinosaur survival game, with real paleontologists and a team of confident developers? What the hell could go wrong? Turns out, just about everything. Revogel Games released its Kickstarter trailer for Saurian all the way back in 2016, and they immediately saw success. The Kickstarter goal was demolished, and YouTubers flooded in to see what all the hype was about. People were desperate for this game, and they were not afraid to throw everything at it to ensure that their dreams came true. The game's premise was rather simple. Based off of a single formation, Saurian could provide the player with a hyper-realistic experience that showcased exactly what late Cretaceous North America would have looked like through the lens of a Dakota raptor. Through a seamless growth process, you would grow your dinosaur, start your own raptor family, and survive the harsh environments of Hell Creek. This shit is basically just WolfQuest. But people loved this stuff. No more toxic allomains, no more ridiculous breaks in immersion. This was going to be the dino nerd dream. Shortly after development started, problems began to arise. And the problem was that not much was developing at all. This kind of realism had never been attempted, much less achieved before. And the fact that such a small team was responsible for creating all of this during the 2016 feather craze, it was just a mess. Things were constantly changing, and money was draining away much faster than anticipated. The game's main draw was also its primary weakness. Paleontological accuracy changes so quickly that it might as well be referred to as subjective, and the developers were starting to realize that if they were going to stick to their main selling point, they would have to dump a lot of resources into constant paleontological updates, which were of course important, but nowhere near as vital to the game as basic features, functionality, and coding, which I don't think they took to heart. But these were not the only issues at Revogel Games, and a far more sinister behavior would begin to plague the game's development from here on out. Despite its few hiccups, Saurian was still looking promising. YouTubers such as The Gaming Beaver, Best in Slot, and even Markiplier played Saurian, and who could blame them? The work that had gone into the game this far was genuinely incredible, and absolutely on par with some of the best games in the genre. Hell, Saurian was the genre for most people, due to the simple fact that everyone was obsessed with it. No game before or after it would truly reach outside of the dinosaur survival niche and into the broader sphere of gaming, quite like Saurian did. However, something was blatantly clear. Saurian was a proof of concept, not a video game. After a couple of years of development, Saurian had a very bare-bones map, piss-poor AI, one playable creature, and a handful of mechanics that made survival feel like more of a suggestion than an actual reality. And as time went on, things only got worse. Big names inevitably left, and the public eye generally abandoned the game. Saurian was a one-trick pony, and if it couldn't improve fast enough, it was going to get left behind. Hardcore fans and backers of the game became more and more concerned too with the pace of development. It took the devs 3 years to release a second playable, and they haven't released another since then. The AI is still awful, and even the most basic mechanics like nesting are yet to be added to the game. Saurian, as cool as it once was, is dead in the water. But the story isn't as clear as it may seem. In 2021, Revoco Games would post a heartbreaking update to their Steam page. The previous manager had been siphoning over $70,000 from the game since its Kickstarter, and had only been removed from the position after countless attempts by the rest of the team to force a confession out of them. After settling a court case, the team was able to regain control of the company, but without a massive chunk of the funding that they had originally started with. Although many people think this was the catalyst for many of Saurian's issues, I see it as the nail in the coffin for the game's development overall. Saurian had been bleeding money and relevancy for far too long, and with this final blow, the game simply lacked the funding to continue development at the pace it needed to. But is Saurian truly dead? Well, that's where things get a little murky. The remaining developers are strictly volunteers, with minimal funding and very little time to actually work on the game. Despite this, it must be said that they are absolutely dedicated to their craft, and have continued to work very hard on the game that once captured the hearts of millions. However, these efforts, although heroic in many people's eyes, and mine, are sadly futile in my own opinion. Saurian is a decade old at this point, and it is absolutely showing its age. The once cutting-edge designs are no longer cutting-edge. The once immersive and AI-filled map is now dated and static compared to other titles in the genre. Hyperrealism itself has begun to die out, as people find themselves drifting towards more action-packed, gameplay-oriented titles with wacky systems and stylized designs. Saurian is trapped in the past, a relic of a forgotten era. A dream once shared by millions, now broken and trudging along slower than any other game in the genre, and that's saying a lot. Sometimes it's okay to let a good thing go, and I believe Saurian is one of those things. It was truly an amazing game while it lasted, and if it had been managed better with fewer pitfalls and incredibly unfortunate events, I believe it could have been one of the greats. It could have been the single-player dinosaur survival experience, but not anymore. And I don't think that day will ever come. Just like the dinosaurs we all know and love, Saurian is long gone. It's a fossil, a relic of an era that simply doesn't exist anymore. And maybe there will be a day that a game like Saurian can thrive again, but Saurian will most likely never be at the forefront of that era. I never wanted this to happen. Hell, I was one of the people that backed the damn thing. But alas, not all dreams come true. Have a good day, bro.